गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यं बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यं ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवि वचक्षुरा ततम् ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं महालक्ष्म्यै नमः। ॐ श्लीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। Can everybody say after me Hare Ramakrishna 3 times? Om Hare Ramakrishna Hare Ramakrishna Hare Ramakrishna Om Rishibhyo Namah Om Gurubhyo Namah. Okay, which nakshatra are we on? I think we finished Jyothishya. Jyothishya is over. So we have to do my nakshatram now. Purvabhadra. Oh. Okay. Okay, now we will do the mantra for the Purvabhadra nakshatra. It is basically the mantra for Aja. Aja, he is also called Ajaikapada or Ajaikacharana. Basically, Aja, the one-footed Aja. He is basically one of the forms of Shiva. He is one of the Rudras, Aja. He is the ruler of the Purvabhadra nakshatra. Okay, so this is the mantra for Aja. As do you know what Aja means? There is one meaning, but how did the word came? The Vyutpatti I am asking about, the etymology of the word.
Not born?
Yeah. Ja means born. For example, Pankaja means born in the panka, in the mud. Or Jalaja means born in the water. So Ja means born from or born. A means not, no. It's basically negation. Aja means unborn one. So it literally means unborn God. So Aja, this is a mantra for Aja. Aja Ekapat, as it says. Basically, Aja Ekapada. Aja Ekapada. As the ruler of the Purvabhadra nakshatra. Om Aja Ekapadudagat Purastat Vishva Bhutani Pratimodamana Tasya Deva Prasavam Yanti Sarve Prasthapadaso Amrutasya Gopa Vibhrajamanas samidhana ugrah antariksamaruhada ganjam tang suryam devamajamekapadam prasthapadaso anuyanti sarve. This is the mantra for Ajaikapada as the ruler of the Purvabhadra nakshatra. Now which graha are we on? Shukra? Shukra, right? Yeah. So now we will do the mantra for Shukra. There are 2 versions actually for the Shukra mantra, again in different chandas. I will do both of them. One is Shukrante Anjad Jajidante Anjad Vishurupe Ahani Jaurivasi Vishwahi Maya Avasi Swadhavo Bhadrate Pushan Viharati Rastu. This is one mantra. The other mantra, for example, in Andhra, when you do Satyanarayan Vratam, basically that mantra is more popular. But there is another mantra in many Shaivagamas. This mantra is more popular. Both are Shukra mantras only. Om Pravashukraya Bhanave Bharadvam Havyam Matim Chagnaye Suputam Yo Daivyani Manusha Janungshi Antarvishwani Vidvana Jigati. So the mantra says Antarvishwani Vidvana Jigati. With the intellect, with the knowledge and intellect, so many universes which are within you, with his intellect and with his ability, he basically provokes them into action. So he is the one who causes all the creativity, and also what is meant by Antarvishwani, the universes that are all within you, they basically shine with his intellect. That means basically he gives so many spiritual experiences. He is a very important planet for spiritual experiences. So we will continue the discussion on Brihat Parasar Hora Shastram. And one small point, Seshu pointed out to me when we met for the Satyanarayan Vratam on Monday. He pointed out to me that he was reading the chapter on Argala in Brihat Parasar Hora Shastram, I think translated by G.C. Sharma or Santanam, and then he found that there was a deviation in one particular word. It was interpreted differently than me, and actually that makes sense. That interpretation also makes sense. So I just want to mention it. There was a shloka, Lagne Pade Made Va, basically saying that if there are argalas, strong argalas on Lagna, Pada and Mada, then somebody like a king is born, somebody very fortunate is born. And I interpreted Lagna and Pada are obviously, they are all obvious. Lagna means Lagna, ascendant, and Pada means the Arudha, the risen, one of the ascendant, Arudha Pada of the ascendant. But when it came to Mada, Mada literally means infatuation and great achievement, etc. That kind of meaning it has, that kind of connotation it has. I interpreted that to mean the 10th house of your achievements, and apparently that translation interprets it as the 7th house of desire. That is also a tenable interpretation. I am not 100% sure that my interpretation is accurate, but at the same time I am not fully convinced that my interpretation is wrong and only that interpretation is right. I just want to mention both. The thing is, it was a good thing that I did not read the translations. I just opened the verses on my computer and I just interpreted them myself. So basically another point of view came out. Otherwise, I would have basically gone with that point of view. If I already saw somebody's interpretation, I would simply follow that. So it's a good thing. What you have to remember is when it comes to Parasara's teachings, there are places where there is scope for multiple interpretations. You just have to think deeply and also experiment. Then only you can find out what is correct. So on that note, I just want to leave that, and I want to continue. Somebody had a question. Actually, you were about to raise your hand.
The other one is, can we make about 10 or 15 slokas we can read, or we can?
Yeah, I'll think about it. You told me. Seshu's idea was forget the interpretations. If I can just read the slokas one after the other, and then we create an MP3 just of the slokas so that you can listen. That it can be a nice listening experience. That is basically his idea. But my only concern is this is not a shloka that you listen to and auspicious. Like for example, if I read any shloka or Ganapati Atharasnishtam or something, if you just play it in your car, if you listen to it, it's auspicious. These are just shlokas that give some knowledge, and if you don't understand what it is talking about, just listening to may not be that useful. So it may be useful to some people, but not to a lot of people. So I'll think about it, and we can do it separately also. So let me leave that for now. You also raise your hand.
Regarding Argala and Badaka.
Yeah. The
Rahu and Ketu, even though they are in the second, fourth, 11, they don't cause Argala because they should be in a...
For them, Argala and Badha to the Argala are reckoned reversely according to Parasara. Yes, they are.
My question is, suppose one case, say Sun is causing Argala, and any other planet is causing Argala, and Rahu being in the 12th house or 10th house. Okay. So that would cause Argala or with a Badaka.
You said 10th and 12th. Those are two different things. No. Which one?
If the planet other than Rahu and Ketu are in 2nd and 4th, they are causing Argala to the
okay.
house.
Yes.
And Rahu being in the 12th and 10th.
Why 12th and 10th?
If the second house...
Oh, sorry, you said 10th. Okay, sorry. 12th and 10th, yeah. Then he causes Argala along with them. He joins them. No, not Badha. He joins them. For Rahu and Ketu, if they are in the 12th, 10th and 3rd houses from a particular house, then they cause Argala on that house. So they join the other planets which are in the 2nd, 4th and 11th houses in causing Argala. On the other hand, if they are along with those planets, then they will go against those planets. Those planets are trying to cause Argala and they are trying to cause Virodha Argala.
But how they can cause it? Because they are not in the Badaka's place, so that Argala, they may not be cooperating with that planet, but they may not be giving
No,
Jataka for
if
the
Rahu is in the second house, let us say Guru and Rahu are in the second house from a house. Being in the second house, Guru causes Argala. And for Rahu, second house is Badhagargala Sthana, Badhargala Sthana or Virodhargala Sthana. So he basically causes obstruction to the Argala. Any planet causing Argala in the second house, Rahu causes the same kind of Argala in the 12th house. And any planet will be obstructing the second house Argala, that kind of Dhanargala, from the 12th house, but Rahu opposes it from the second house. It's just different houses for Rahu. Simple.
Do you need to see the relationship, I mean, the friendly, Atimitra, Mitra?
You may, Parasara never mentioned it.
Right.
But the thing is, when you look at the degree of the Argala, the degree of the results, etc., you may look at all those subjective factors. But several objective factors have been clearly delineated by Parasara. So we just concentrated on those so far. And to take it further, you have to do some subjective analysis. I leave that to you to experiment. You can see actually what we will do is, whatever I am going to do today, there are not going to be any examples, etc. So what we will do is, we will do some more examples of Argala only. Okay? After I finish a chapter in BPHS. Yes. Actually,
Rahu is in 12th house.
yeah.
And Jupiter is the second house.
Yes.
So Rahu's Argala is obstructed by Jupiter.
No.
It's not
No,
because
Jupiter.
Rahu is causing second house Argala on that house,
yeah.
even though he is in the 12th house. And Jupiter being in the second house, he also causes second house Argala. So both of them are causing
But who
second
is
house Argala.
obstructing Rahu then?
Nobody. If there is another planet, any planet other than Rahu in the 12th house, then they would be obstructing Rahu and Jupiter's combined Argala. Okay? That is clearly what Parasara taught. And also the word Tamograha, we interpret it as Rahu and Ketu. And I said that you can even interpret it as all the tamasic grahas. First of all, it doesn't make sense. And second of all, there are many other contexts in BPHS where Parasara used the word Tamograha in Prathama Vibhakti. Here he said Tamograha Bhava, which means caused by Tamograhas. Actually, not caused by Tamograhas. It could be caused by Tamograha, or caused by 2 Tamograhas, or caused by 3 Tamograhas, or more. Basically, the Vibhakti, the Vachanam, whether it's singular case or dual case or plural case is not obvious because of the Samasam. Because of the Samasam, that the Vibhakti Pratyayam goes away. And unless you have the Vibhakti Pratyayam, you don't know which Vachanam it is. So Tamograha Bhava only means caused by Tamograha or Tamograhas. We don't know anything more. Whereas, on many other occasions, he used the word in Prathama Vibhakti, which means just referring to them as Tamograha or Tamograhas. There he used Vivachanam. Instead of saying Tamograha or Tamograha, he said Tamograhau, which means Tamograhau means it is Vivachanam. Ramah, Ramau, Ramah. Ramah means one Rama. Ramo means 2 Ramas. Ramah means 3 or more Ramas. There are 3 cases in Sanskrit. Yakavachanam, which means singular case, Dvivachanam means dual case, and Bahuvachanam means plural case. So because he used it in dual case, the word Tamograha, the expression Tamograha has been used in dual case in many other places in the text, you very obviously infer that here also when he says Tamograha Bhava, he clearly implies caused by the 2 Tamograhas, caused by Rahu and Ketu. So when you are talking about two Tamograhas, 2 dark planets or 2 planets with no light, basically, you are obviously talking about Rahu and Ketu. So it is very obvious. And there are some people who say that Jaimini's Sutra, Vipritam Ketoh, means you do it in reverse for Ketu. They interpret that particular sutra, aphorism, to say that only Ketu, this applies only to Ketu. But the thing is, Jaimini is so unclear, so vague, so ambiguous. So you don't even know whether he is talking about Argala there or something else. It is absolutely unclear. So using Jaimini to say that this must be like this is ridiculous, if you ask me. You can use it to infer something, but you have to conclude, you have to confirm it using something else, either your practical study or your intuition or some other text. And here Parasara is very clearly saying. And also there, the interpretation of our tradition was, if Ketu is in a particular house, then for that house, you reckon Argalas differently. Whether you are looking at Argalas from Jupiter or from Sun or Rahu, doesn't matter. As long as Ketu is in a house, you reckon differently. That was the interpretation. Again, it's not at all obvious when you look at Jaimini's sutra. So you cannot use Jaimini to basically justify that view. It's a good view to have, a logical conclusion, but it's not at all obvious. So you have to either use your intuition or practical studies or some other text to confirm it. And here there is a different text that is very clearly saying both Rahu and Ketu, and also Bhava, Tamograha Bhava, which means caused by them, not caused on a house containing them. There is no reference to the house containing them. So the interpretation that we gave in the last class, basically that is the only tenable interpretation as far as Parasharas teachings are concerned. Let me change it to English. Oops.
One other question.
Yes.
Not related to what we are doing.
Yes.
But this is very specific.
But relating to astrology? Okay, go ahead.
General thing that we covered before, but some students who could not post on SJC Boston group, they
Yeah.
sent it to me.
Okay.
DCS put a Vagda that we said Ketu in second house causes very clear and very good speech.
Yeah.
But there is also in one of the classes Narayan, when we were calling Jaimini Sutra, we touched upon saying it is secretive and kind of it was little different than being very clear voice and things like that. It's a secretive voice and things like that. So there was some
Speech problem. If it is in second house, in
Second house Ketu can give some
speech problems
or stammering in the beginning at least.
like that.
Yeah.
But we said it's a DCS put a Vagdata, we indicated that.
That is
it's
what the
very
Ashtotra
clear.
Stotram says of Ketu.
So
Yes.
what is the
So if Ketu is in the second house, both results are possible. When Ketu is weak, there can be problems. Basically, Ketu is capable of destroying any house. He is like a big explosion. So whichever house Ketu is in, he is completely capable of destroying it, even if it's a house he likes. So if Ketu is in the second house, there can be problems with the speech. He may not be a good speaker. There can be stammering. But because the scriptures say that Ketu in the second house also gives very clear voice, basically when the problems are over, his voice will be extremely clear basically. Which means he doesn't speak like I don't know. I think that makes sense. He doesn't speak like this. He speaks like I am speaking right now. He has very clear voice. You know what he's saying. But there are some people who have a very unclear kind of speech. I'm not talking about here. I'm not talking about the clarity of the eloquence or clarity of using the right words for the context. I'm talking about having a very clear voice basically. I'm talking about the nature of the voice itself, the nature of the Vaikhari, the nature of the audio that comes out of the mouth. Some people have a very clear voice, whereas some people have a murmuring kind of voice. It's tough to figure out what they are saying. So Ketu is supposed to give a very clear, audible voice. But the thing is, before he does it, he can give some problems also. He can give some stammering, etc. And also it depends on whether Ketu is strong or weak. And in my case, if you see my chart, actually forget it. Any other questions?
same Arkala chapter?
Yeah.
In the case of whether the planet gives full strength or medium strength.
Yeah.
So and then for neutral benefit.
Yeah.
For 4, 7, 10 houses.
Yeah.
It is a functional benefit. I wrote it down like it behaves as a malefic. And then if there are functional malefic, if the planet is in
Not functional. If it is a natural benefic, and if it's a natural benefic, owning 4, 7 and 10 is basically malefic for it. If it's a natural malefic, then owning 4, 7 and 10 is neutral for it. Okay? Owning, not being, owning. The functional nature of a planet is based on the houses it owns. Okay? So you see both the houses owned by a planet, if there are two, or there's only one, you just look at that house. And see, judge whether it's a functional benefic or malefic or functionally neutral. So you combine both the houses and make a judgment. So 2, 8 and 12 are neutral, 3, 6 and 11 are malefic, 1, 5 and 9 are benefic, 4, 7 and 10 are neutral for function, neutral for natural malefics and malefic for natural benefics. So based on this, you judge the nature of the planet based on the houses owned and then combine them. If it's neutral one way and malefic one way, combined is malefic. If it's neutral one way, benefic other way, combined is benefic. If it's benefic one way, malefic another way, combined is neutral. Okay. So like that you basically combine both the effects of the two houses and judge whether the planet is functional benefic or malefic. However, this formula, this axiom is only for the beginners. You guys are supposed to be advanced. So you guys should memorize by now. When you see a house, when you see a lagna, you should know Jupiter is benefic, Venus is malefic, like that you should know. You are supposed to memorize that list. Okay. So actually, why don't you do one thing? Why don't you, all of you, share the work? Maybe take your Lagna Lord as the planet for you, or maybe take your Lagna Rashi as your sign. Each of you take 1 or 2 signs and then figure out who are the benefics, malefics and neutrals for that sign, and then make a list. Make a list of, unless we have the list from the beginning classes. If we have, then recirculate the list and memorize it. If we don't, create a list and circulate it, and then everybody memorize it.
What does it take the...
Basically create a table. Sign Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So that is the Lagna basically. Functional benefics, the planets. Functional neutrals, functional malefics. So there will be 4 columns and 13 rows. So create that table and fill it in. So one of you can take initiative and create the table template and send it to others. And it is up to others to fill it up. I'm sure everybody will volunteer to be the seed guy.
I read somewhere that Kendra Siri Dosha.
Yeah. Yeah.
That basic is in every important form.
Yeah.
And that dosha is cancelled.
Whether it's cancelled or not, it's basically it becomes lesser. Yeah. But the thing is, for example, in my case, I have Kanya Lagna. So Mercury, he is a functionally neutral planet for me because he owns the 10th house, at the same time he owns Lagna. So he is neutral. But Jupiter is a malefic for me. He is the 4th and 7th lord. He has so-called Ubhay Kendradhipatya dosha, which means he owns not 1 but 2 Kendras. So irrespective of where he is placed, I would consider my Jupiter to be a malefic for me. It doesn't mean he is bad. He may give some good results. But as far as the functional nature is concerned, he is a malefic for my Lagna, period. But if that Jupiter was in Sagittarius or Pisces, giving Hamsa Yoga, then probably I would not consider him to be a functional malefic. The dosha is like you said, the cancellation would basically apply there. Rather than any other Kendra, if he is in one house, then whatever you said is stronger. Okay, but the thing is, these are all subjective. But as per the rules, he is a malefic. But the degree of maleficence may vary based on other factors. But the bottom line is, if a benefic planet owns a quadrant and becomes a malefic, functional malefic, still if he is taking a part in Raj Yoga, he gives Raj Yoga. So you can't take away anything from that Raj Yoga. If somebody has, let us say, Kanya Lagna and Jupiter and Saturn together, let's say, then they give 4th and 5th lords are together, there is a Raj Yoga. So that you can't take anything away from that Raj Yoga. Basically the bottom line is, the quadrants are Vishnu Sthanas. They are the houses of putting in effort. Not under gunpoint basically. Struggle and putting effort under gunpoint is 3, 6, 11, those houses. The malefic houses. As far as 4, 7 and 10 are concerned, that's not basically putting effort under gunpoint or under a lot of stress. It is just putting effort because you just want to do karma. Voluntary effort basically. So malefics, if a malefic wants the house of effort, because the malefics have that negative energy, the energy to do material things, they will basically make you work harder. Whereas if a benefic wants that house, benefics are usually just relaxed kind of planets. So for them, if a benefic wants the 7th house or 4th house or 10th house, they may not be able to make you work as hard as a malefic would. So that is basically the reason why you will say that owning a quadrant is not so good for benefics. At the same time, according to Parashara, owning a trine is good for all planets. 5th and 9th lords are always benefics, right? But do you think that Mars owning the 5th house or Jupiter owning the 5th house makes them equal degree of functional benefics? Probably not. Because what are trines? They are the blessings from the past. So the owner of the trines is supposed to give you blessings of the past activities. If it is a natural benefic, natural benefics like to give results very easily. They are like Bhole Shiva basically. They are like, they want to make things happen very easily without lot of trouble. So if a benefic wants the 5th and 9th houses, he will give the results very easily. So he is more of a functional benefic. Whereas if a malefic wants it, owning the 5th and 9th houses, he has to give some good results. But still he is a malefic. It's like asking for a donation. If you ask a sweet person, he may give $1 million. If you ask a very miserly guy, he may give you only $200,000. Still he is giving you money. He is a functional benefit. But there is a difference in the degree of functional beneficence. So all these things are not clearly mentioned by Parashara, but you have to draw these subjective judgments. And if you understand the nature of planets, if you understand in terms of the analogies that I keep presenting you, then you will be able to make those subjective calls in an intelligent fashion. Okay? We'll go back to the, okay, we answered your question, right? Any other questions on Argala or anything else? Okay, there have been a lot of Argalas on this. Argala, not Badaka. Argalas on the chapter on Argala, but they also worked as Badakas on the Argala on the new chapter that we are going to start. So Argala on one house can also be Virodha Argala. A planet may cause Argala on one house but cause Badaka Argala on another house. So what I am going to do is, okay, I am doing, if you have Santanam's version, I will be doing chapter 85, inauspicious birth, Ashubha Janma Kathanadhyayam. So there are a few doshas. According to Parashara, they can override all good placements in the chart. Lagna may be auspicious, planets may be auspicious, but everything can be overridden by these combinations. So I will be presenting those. And if you have the BPHS, you can open it. I believe all of you have. So I won't throw it up, because I won't throw it up in the PDF here. All of you just see it in your books. If you don't have a book, share it with somebody else. So in Santanam's version, this is chapter 85. In some other version, it may be something else. Okay, chapter 86 apparently in this is Janma. Atha Ashubha Janma Kathanadhyayah. So this is basically Ashubha means inauspicious birth chapter. Athanyat sampravakshyami sulagne sugraheshvapi yadanjakaranena bhave janma shubhapradam. Atha means thus or now. Athanyat sampravakshyami. Anyat means otherwise. Sampravakshyami means I am going to say, I am going to speak. Sulagne sugraheshu api. Sulagna means in the case of an auspicious lagna. Sugraheshu means in the case of auspicious planets. Api means also. So even if lagna is auspicious or the planets are auspicious, then what? Yadanya karanena api. Yat anya karanena api bhaved janma ashubha pratam. By which other reasons also bhaved means will become, janma means birth, ashubha pradam means inauspicious. By which reasons also the birth becomes inauspicious. I am going to talk about those. So what he is saying is, even if lagna and planetary positions are all auspicious, the other reasons which are capable of making the birth inauspicious, I am going to talk about those now. Okay. So he is very clearly saying, whatever he is going to talk about now overrides everything else and makes the birth as an inauspicious one, which means some problems for the native and people around him, and because of that birth. Darsye Krishna Chadurdasyam Vishtyam Sodarabhe Tatha Pitrubhe Surya Sankrantau Pater Kendugrahe Tatha. So he is basically talking about, he is listing those inauspicious conditions. Pardon me? Oh, is that right? Can I see your text? Oh, Telugu. Maybe from a different. Good.
Whatever you have told previously, same thing.
Very interesting. Very interesting. अथ ब्रवीमि मैत्रेय कारणान्तरमत्रते येनाशुभं जनृणां शुभाङ्गेऽपि ससद्ग्रहे. Okay, this may be a pathanta then. There may be a different tradition where the shlokas are basically mentioned in a different way. Does he still use the word darsya? I am curious.
Yeah. Second one you say he is talking about Krishna Chaturdashi.
I know. Madram asita pakshiya chaturdasyam Krishna Chaturdashi cha sankrame गणनादि तृतीय अथवा okay, so he has a, so basically the thing is there seem to be different versions. He doesn't even have dasya thing. Oh, he does. Okay, interesting. So basically it is possible that you can, it will be an interesting thing to look at some of the beginning chapters and verify if the slokas are identical or if there is any variation in the slokas. The thing is, this knowledge was basically kept in oral form for a long time. So it is possible that the meaning was preserved but somebody basically altered the slokas for some of the chapters, especially the later chapters. I will not be, my feeling is the beginning chapters, the basic chapters would basically be identical. Nobody would have tampered with them. But these grahashantis, etc., probably there were some pathantaras basically. And for all you know, different versions may have come from Parasara also. So the thing is, there seem to be different oral traditions in India where there is some deviation. But the interesting thing is, meanings are the same.
Yeah, that's what exactly I mean. They are reading something else and it's meaning same.
Yeah. Okay. So we will basically stick to this particular version that I have, which is Santanam's version. That may be from a different version. So it says, Darse Krishna Chaturdasyam Vishtyam Sodarabhe Tatha Pitrubhe Surya Sankranto Pater Kendugrahe Tatha. What it means is Darsya. Darsya means, it is normally translated as Amavasya. But the literal meaning of Darsya is when moon is just visible. Darsyanam means basically seeing. Darsya means moon being just seeable. So you could interpret it two ways. One interpretation is the end of Amavasya. End of Amavasya is when moon is completely invisible. And the beginning of Pratipat, Shukra Pratipat or Shukla Pajami, that is when moon is just visible. So you could actually interpret it as the beginning of Shukla Paksha, the Shukla Pratipat. Even though many people interpret it as Amavasya, that's actually doubtful based on the word. So that is one thing. The other is you can even interpret it in the Islamic way, where when moon is first visible, the crescent is visible after a couple of days after Amavasya. That's when they observe that and they use that in many of their festivals in the Islamic tradition. So you could even interpret it that way because the visibility is being talked about. The word used is Darsya. So those are the two interpretations. But anyway, the classical, the traditional interpretation is Amavasya. Literally, Amavasya is not the new moon day. Amavasya is actually the no moon day. Because if you see, Purnima is the day when moon is almost full, and at the end of Purnima, moon becomes fullest. And when Krishna Paksha starts, he starts shrinking. And again, Amavasya is the day when you still have a little bit of moon, but he is going towards zero. And at the end of Amavasya, moon is zero. And when Shukla Pratipat starts, again moon starts slowly increasing. Okay? So Amavasya is not really the day when there is no moon. Amavasya is the day when there is a little bit of moon and is going towards not being any moon. So the new moon is actually after Amavasya. The new moon comes after Amavasya. So there could be some corruption in the tradition here. So, but the thing is, instead of making a far-reaching conclusion that Dasya means Shukla Pratipat, we will just stick to Amavasya, the traditional interpretation. But I want to open your minds because, like I keep saying, there is a lot of knowledge in the Hinduism, but we have been through dark ages for the last few thousand years. So it is entirely possible if a lot of knowledge got totally corrupted. So just keep it in your mind. Darse Krishna Chaturdasyam. Krishna Chaturdashi means the 14th day of the waning half, the waning fortnight. So that is, Chaturdasi is basically a tithi auspicious for Shiva. Shiva likes it, and especially Krishna Chaturdasi, Shiva really likes that particular day, and it says that birth in that particular day is inauspicious, nevertheless. Yeah, Bharta Naraka Chaturdasi is inauspicious. But is it the entire Chaturdasi, or are there any qualifications? We have to see later, okay? Because I was also born on Chaturdasi, Krishna Chaturdasi. It was I was born on a Shanitrayodasi day. In the morning it was Shanitrayodasi, Shanivaram Trayodasi, and later Chaturdasi came in the afternoon. I was born a few hours after Chaturdasi came. We will see, entire Chaturdasi is not inauspicious. Part of it is auspicious and part of it is inauspicious. Not because I was born, but because Parashara says. We will see that classification a little later when we come to the Krishna Chaturdasi chapter. Vishtiyam, what is Vishti? Not our friend Vishti last time. Vishtiyam means Vishti. Vishti is what? Vishti Karanam. There is one of the Karanas. If you look at the Karanas, there are several Karanas like Karija Karana, Vanija Karana, Bhava Karana, Bhalava Karana. There is one Karana called Vishti Karana, which is considered to be inauspicious, very inauspicious. So Vishtiyam Sodarabhe Tatha Pitrubhe. Sodarabhe Tatha Pitrubhe. What Bha means? Nakshatra. It also means Rashi, but normally we interpret it as Nakshatra. Sodarabhe means, Sodara means brother. So somebody born from the same womb. That's what Sodara means. So Sodarabha means brothers. Is it only brother or sister also? Normally, if you want to see, sister, you say Sodari instead of Sodara. Akaranta Pullinga and Ikaranta Strilinga. So you end it with the Ikara, but basically the word Sodara literally means born from the same womb. So it can be brother or sister. So Sodarabha, I will interpret it as any sibling born in the same nakshatra. Tatha means and. Pitrubhe. Pitrubhe means father in the same nakshatra. So that means if somebody is born in the same nakshatra that father or a sibling was also born in, that is a dosha. Okay, if you were born in Mrugashirsha and your brother also was born in Mrugashirsha, that's a dosha.
The dosha to whom?
The later born.
The later born.
Yeah. But it may have impact on the previous borns also, if you don't do the Shanti.
No, grandfather's father and son all three.
Okay. They should have done some Shanti.
Yeah,
They must have, yeah. If it's a traditional Indian family, they would do some Shanti. Otherwise, there can be some inauspicious consequences.
It has to be same father or doesn't it?
Parashara does not say. So, it seems like it can be any pada. Basically, there is a, if you take any particular person, father or brother, there is a 1 over 27 chance. So, a lot of people will have this particular dosha. What is the other one? Surya Sankrantau. What is Surya Sankranti?
Changing the
Surya Sankranti day. That means Surya has gone from one sign to another sign. So when Surya enters a particular sign, that particular day. So for example, actually it's interesting, we are talking about Surya Sankranti. I'm sure right now Surya must be changing sign.
Yeah, it's in Cancer.
No, he is at the fag end of, he is basically 2 minutes away from, 2 arc minutes away from the boundary between Gemini and Cancer. So today, basically after how long is he going to change? We are talking about Sankranti and it just occurred to me that today may be Sankranti. Oops. 27 minutes later, so half hour later, before this class is over, Sun is going to change sign today. So today is a Sankranti day. So if somebody is born today, the Sankranti dosha will apply.
so it will happen every month.
Yeah, every month there is one day. So there is 1 over 30 probability. There are, out of every 30 people, there is one person born. Assuming people are born with a uniform rate. But I know a few examples where the person was born in Surya Sankranti, the chart was brilliant, but there were big problems. And the person, in one case, the career did not take off, in the other case, marital life was a mess, in the other case, health was terrible. And the reason can be traced to the Sankranti dosha in all the cases. And after the
It will be in the dasa of the planet.
no, Sankranti dosha is, like Parashara says, irrespective of good lagna, good grahas,
Oh, yeah.
these doshas make the whole life, whole birth inauspicious. So your entire life is inauspicious unless you do something about it. So what you can do also Parashara talks about. He does not leave it at problem statement. Then there's no point. He also gives a solution to the problem.
It has to be done at the when the person born or later on?
Ideally, it has to be born. It has to be done when the person is a baby, in the first few days, like first 21 days or first 41 days. But if you don't go to a good astrologer, or the astrologer does not recommend it to you, and you are 28 years old and going through a lot of trouble, and if you go to an astrologer now and he tells you had Sankrant dosha was Shanti done, if he says no and the astrologer says okay, do it, you better do it even now. And I know cases where it was done at the age of like 27, 28, and lot of improvement was seen in life after that. So it is never too late. Maybe if you are like 70 years old, then instead of doing the dosha, just go through with the remaining suffering and think of it as a blessing, so that a lot of karmas were done away with.
With another 50 years, probably I think you should do it.
Yeah, you probably want to do it.
So the whole day or that?
Pardon me?
The day
Parashara says the entire day.
Whole day. Oh, whole day.
He does not actually specify. He just says Surya Sankranti at the time of Surya Sankramana. Does it mean exactly when sun is changing, or does it mean the entire day? We don't really know. But the standard interpretation is the entire day on which sun changes sign. And again, how do you reckon the day? If sun changes sign at 10:30, maybe we can say today, this civil day. What if sun changes sign at 2 o'clock in the night? Then should it be the next day? So all these we'll grapple with when we come to that chapter. Okay? There are basically issues that you have to grapple with. Or should you simply look at the degree of sun and say if he is half degree away from the border of a sign? We will grapple with it when we come to the chapter. When I say grapple with it, I don't mean we'll give a solution. We'll just consider various possibilities and leave it at that. Then Pate Kendu Grahe Tatha. What is Pata?
It's falling.
Pardon me?
It's falling, right?
Pata literally means fall. What could it be? When the baby comes out, baby falls on the ground? No.
Yeah. No, the reverse.
Pardon me?
Reverse birth. From the
Good guess, but probably not. Pata literally means a fall. What kind of fall? We don't really know. So let us leave it. But one possibility is basically some comets falling or something.
Oh, big area.
Yeah, that kind of possibility is there. He may be referring to that. We don't know for sure. Arkendu Grahe Tatha. What does Arkendu Graha mean? Arka means?
He also refers to that as the solar eclipses.
That is the next one. Please.
Arka Indu Grahe.
Arkendu Grahe Tatha. Arka Indu Grahe. What is Arka Indu Grahe?
Sun.
I wanted you to guess, but you saw it and you said it loud, so everybody knows. Arka means sun. Indu means moon. Graha means taking. Graha, one meaning is planet, the other meaning is taking. So it is basically Grahanam, the taking of sun and moon by Rahu and Ketu. So Arkendu Graha means the solar or lunar eclipse. So if somebody is born on the day at the time of solar eclipse, literally translating, he is saying at the time of solar or lunar eclipse. So if somebody was born during an eclipse, then also that is a dosha, that is inauspicious.
We are taking for that.
Pardon me?
For Grahanam, we are
Yeah.
taking that at that particular time.
Yeah.
Probably we should take Sankranti also.
But the thing is, Grahanam has a duration. Sankranti is a point. It's not a duration. So referring to a point would be illogical. So there must be some duration. Whereas for Grahana there is a duration, clearly defined duration. Whether you talk about Dasya, Amavasya or Chaturdasi, all these Vishtikarana, the nakshatra of father, nakshatra of brother, all these are durations. Measurable durations. Whereas if you just say Sankranti moment, it's just a moment. It's like not even a second. It's not even a microsecond. It's basically a point in time. So it makes no sense to say that exactly at that point if somebody is born. Nobody is born. And I know that in the cases where I saw some problems in the Sankranti birth cases, and after some Santi things improved, in those cases, they were born like a few hours after the Sankranti, not exactly at the time. So there must be some duration with the Sankranti. So, Arkendu Grahe Tatha. So he is talking about the solar and lunar eclipses. Yati Pata di Duryoge Gandante Trividhe Piva Yamaghante Vabhe Dagdha Yoge Tritara Janmacha. So what is all this? Vyatipata di Duryoge. Vyatipata Adi means beginning with or etc. Vyatipata Adi means Vyatipata di Duryogam. Duryogam means bad yogam. So Vyatipata etc. in Vyatipata etc. bad yogas. So what are these? What is Vyatipata yoga? Anybody knows? Is it like Viparita Raj Yoga? Raj Yoga, is it some yoga like that? Vyatipata yoga. Anybody knows what it is? Do you know any other meaning of yoga? Yoga is yoga only combination of planets in particular chart like Saturn, Venus, Ketu being together, tapas yoga. Is that only meaning or is there another kind of yoga? Like in the Panchanga? Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga, Karna. There is a yoga there, right? You know the list of those yogas? Okay. But there are 27 yogas given in the... For me? There is a Vyatipata yoga. How do you know?
I remember that name.
You know what is the yoga right now? Atiganda yoga. Atiganda yoga is running right now.
Yeah,
Vishtikarna is running right now. So actually, if a baby is born now, it's very inauspicious. There is Vishtikarna, that is a Duryoga. There is not Vyatipata, but the Atiganda yoga is there. As the name tells you, Atiganda is basically...
Not to do with Gandanta.
It's not Gandanta. Atiganda means basically big danger, terrible danger. So you can guess that just like Vyatipata, it says Vyatipata adi Duryoge, Vyatipata etc. Duryogas. So you can guess that Atiganda is one of those Duryogas. So it is a Duryoga, that way based on yoga, based on Karana, and then there is solar eclipse, not solar eclipse. There is a Surya Sankramana today. So Surya Sankranti is going to happen soon. So there are several Duryogas. So if somebody is born right now, they should do a lot of Santi. Okay. So it's interesting that we are doing this we started this chapter when there are so many Duryogas. We started the chapter on Duryogas.
What is that thing, sir?
It doesn't really mean anything. So that means we will all get a lot of examples to study this well. That's what it means. Because even the moment that we are starting to study, there is an example here. So that means all of you will get a lot of examples to study. So when somebody comes to you in the next 1 month, see if any of doshas are there. You may find that these doshas are there in some charts and they may be the problem. So you can use these. Okay. So what else? Actually we didn't. Vyatipada Duryoga means Vyatipata and other Duryogas. I will not give a list. What I want you to do is go through the list of 27. I gave the yogas and the meanings in my book. So go through them and figure out which are inauspicious. By the meaning and the name you can figure out. Vyatipata Duryoge Gandante Trividhe Piva. What does it mean? Gandante means in Gandanta. Trividhe means three kinds. Trividhe api. Api means also va or. So he is saying in Vyatipata etc. Duryogas or in the three kinds of Gandantas also. There are apparently three kinds of Gandantas. What are those? We will find out when we go to that particular chapter. Okay, three kinds of Gandantas. So if somebody is born in the Gandanta, again there is a dosha. Yamaghante Vabhe. What is Yamaghante Vabhe? Yeah, Yamaghanta, there is a time that is given to Yamaghanta.
Yamakalam?
Yeah, basically, it's also known as Yamaghadiya in Telugu. It's basically that time. But there is a different view on that. When we do that chapter, I will talk about that. There is a different view on what Yamaghanta Vabha means. Dagdha Yoge. What is Dagdha Yogam? Again, we don't really know. We'll find out when we come to that chapter. But literally it means burnt. Dagdha means burnt. Dagdha yoga means burnt months time roughly. Yeah. Tritara Janmacha. What is Tritara Janma? Tritara Janmacha. Tritara means 3 plus Itara. 3 other Janma. Janma means birth.
Here it is
3 other births also.
much clear.
Look at, yeah.
Kanyatrayantaram putraha, putri putra trayantare. That is after.
Yeah. So that is very clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So his text is more clear, and also that is the standard interpretation for Tritara Janma, which means 3 other kind of birth. So that means the baby that is born after 3 other kinds of birth. By other kinds of birth, we don't mean like animals. We mean like other sex basically. Because we are talking about other, we are talking about a duality, basically male and female. So after 3 male children, if a female child is born, or after 3 female children, 1 male child is born. That is called Trijanma Dosha. Or Tritara Janma Dosha.
That does include the miscarriages.
Good question. I don't have an answer. Very good question.
In those days there will not be. What do you mean?
No, there would be.
Miscarriages
Miscarriages always,
can happen anytime.
always Rahu and Ketu are there. Substantial problems are always there. So these things will always be there.
Baby will be born and die immediately.
Actually, they had very sophisticated medicines for inducing abortion if they wanted. Even, for example, in royals, they used to give those. There used to be like lot of intrigue, and if somebody doesn't want a particular prince to get a child first, because that child will become the heir, then they would give certain medicines in the food so that the baby would be miscarried. So miscarriages are always induced as well as natural. Miscarriages have always been there for millennia. But the question is, your point is a good point. Does it include miscarriages or not? In the case of miscarriages, do you know if it's a boy or girl? So we don't really know for a fact. And if it is included, then observing this would be very difficult.
Yeah, because sometimes we know, sometimes we
Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we guess, sometimes we can't even guess. So we don't really know. So let us leave it at that. But let us just, because it is, you can follow it easily. It is defined as just the born children. So let us stick to the definition for now.
It's more like doing in case where there is a miscarriage, but it's not really known and we don't count. Then, if this condition applies, then doing a shanti is more like a benefit of doubt.
Yeah, you can basically, good point. So give the benefit of doubt. Consider both the options and then cover all your bases. Okay. Prasavasya vikarepi gneyam janma shubhapradam syantya bhavati kalyanam tadupayam cha vachmyaham. Prasavasya vikarepi, what does it mean?
Ugly child born.
Yeah.
Ugly child.
Prasavasya means of the born, of the newborn. Vikarepi means, vikaram means?
Deformed.
Yeah, deformed or not good, ugly. So prasavasya vikarepi means if an ugly child is born. Basically, a child may be born with lot of deformities, physical deformities, or he may look terribly ugly, or there may be some things like having 2 hairs, having 3 hands, such things basically, such abnormal things. You can translate prasavasya vikarepi as abnormal birth. If there is some kind of abnormal birth, gneyam, that means that is to be learned. Janma, birth, ashubhapratam, inauspicious, giver of inauspicious result. Shantya bhavati kalyanam. Shantya means by doing shanti, by doing the what does shanti mean? Shanti literally means peace, but here shanti means pacification, basically pacifying actions. So by doing shanti, bhavati means occurs, comes, happens. Kalyanam means
Good thing.
auspicious things. Shantya bhavati kalyanam tadupayam cha vachmyaham. That upaya I will tell you now. Vachmi means I am telling you. Actually, I will tell you. It's not I will tell you. It is I am telling you. Vachmi means I am telling you. Aham, I. So I am telling. My next chapter is Amavasya birth chapter. Yeah. Okay. So we will do some examples, some more examples, And of course, we haven't really done any of these doshas in detail. So maybe when we do, maybe we can do some examples. But right now, I don't see any examples. So we will do some examples of the argala that we did in the last class. One second. So do you have any? Do you want to see any particular examples? We'll just see what are the argalas on various houses, what antardasha gave, what results. We will just study. We'll just use the principles that we have studied and analyze them and judge them in various charts and see whether they are doing a good job or not. For me? Okay, go ahead, tell me.
July 4th,
July 4th.
1962.
When you said July 4th, I thought she was saying 1776 and giving a controversial view of that.
1962,
62.
11 a.m.
Okay.
And the place of birth is Tadepalli.
Yeah. India. There is only one Tadepalli Gudem. Okay, how should I save it?
Syamla.
SY or SH?
SY.
Syamala. Okay. Kanya Lagnam, 3rd degree. Okay, so we will take an example.
Is there a possibility for you to put the North Indian style chart also there?
Okay, sure,
Simultaneously,
sure. Okay. So we'll take an example chart. The data is 1962 July 4, 11 a.m. The time zone is 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT, basically IST. The place is Tadepalli Gudem. Tadepalli Gudem, India. 81 degrees 30 minutes east, 16 degrees 50 minutes north. Okay. Okay. So what do we want to see here?
Actually, she lost her husband last year
Okay.
on November 7, 2005.
She lost her husband. Let me say one second. Last husband. When?
November 7,
November 7,
2005.
2005. Okay. When did she get married?
She married on October 6,
October 6th.
1979.
So she was married in 1979. 1979, October 6th. So she was married when she was not a major yet.
Yeah, she is
Okay.
16.
17, yeah. Okay. And she lost her husband in 2005 on November 7. Okay. So what do you want to see in that?
Just how her dasha right now.
Okay. So you just want to see why these things happened and also see how the next
Future.
how the future is.
Just couple of years.
Okay. Are there any children?
She has one son.
One son. Okay. Do you know when he was born?
Yeah. March 14,
March 14.
1991.
So she has one son who was born on March 14, 1991. And we want to see how is her future, what the future holds for her, how is her happiness from child, because she doesn't have husband now. Child is basically everything for her. So how is the happiness from child? So we'll try to judge that. Okay, and then we'll try to see some example of argala, but in general we'll see the chart first. Okay. So what is the? Are we sure that this lagna is accurate in the Rashi? 10 minutes 40 seconds earlier the lagna would have changed to Leo, and 1 hour 54 minutes later it will change to Libra. So we know that it's basically Virgo. 11 minutes is a little too much, so let's assume that we don't have that much error. So Rashi, let's say that lagna is accurate. Now in Navamsha we don't know for a fact, we have to go to Navamsha. Rashi,
later it will change.
pardon me?
3 minutes later it will change, or 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, it will be close to the border. 3 minutes 8 seconds later the lagna will change to the next sign. The lagna in Navamsha is Makara or Capricorn, but it could be Aquarius also 3 minutes 10 seconds later. So we have to consider both Makara and Kumbha. Okay, that is one observation. So for that we will use the marriage as the event. Now Dasha, what is the Dasha? Is Lagna in Vargottama? No, right? Is Lagna Lord in the 7th house or 7th Lord in Lagna? No. Is the 10th Lord in the 10th house? No. Is Sun in Lagna? He is aspecting Lagna, but he is not in Lagna. So what are the other dashas we know? Pardon me? No conditional dashas, no special conditional dashas that are applicable. So she is a regular Vimshotri person.
When we are checking for dashas, I have noticed we only consider these 4 very common
Yeah.
things. We don't consider the other daytime births and other.
Yeah, we are not considering them. Yeah. The dashas which are applicable to half the people, we are not considering them. We are only considering rare conditional dashas. The reason being, I am not very comfortable with their overriding effect on Vimshotri. They only seem to be supplementing Vimshotri, whereas these dashas seem to be overriding Vimshotri, seem to be working better than Vimshotri when they work. So, Seshu was playing with Charadasha recently. Okay. Once you give your computer to me, I can see a lot of things. Okay. Vimshotri Dasha. So when did she get married? 1879. 79 October 6. 79 October 6. What was the Dasha? What was the other Dasha? Mercury Saturn. The Dasha, the Mahadasha of Mercury and the Antardasha of Saturn gave her marriage. Does it make any sense? Does it make any sense? Do you want to go to Navamsa?
Here it says Rashi chart Mercury is in 9th house.
Rashi chart Mercury is in the 9th house, okay.
Second from Upada Lagna.
He is in the second from Upada with the Upada Lagna Lord, okay.
So Mercury Dasha is capable of giving.
Okay, okay. Why Saturn under Dasha?
Saturn in Rashi
Saturn is
5th house.
with A7.
5th house.
Yeah.
Lagna Lord in D9.
Pardon me?
Saturn is Lagna Lord in D9.
Forget Navamsa, we are talking about Rashi now. Navamsa may make it clear, but we are simply talking about the Rashi right now.
Saturn is with A7 and AL.
Saturn is with A7 AL, in general good relations etc. he will give, but why marriage?
New beginning.
Yeah.
K2.
Secondary Karaka.
Pardon me?
He is with secondary Karaka for marriage.
Okay.
And
Whose results will Saturn give in Rashi? Ketu's results. So he is giving Ketu's results. So what is Ketu doing here? He is one of the significators of marriage. Okay. Shall we, because we learnt Argala, shall we try Argala in general? What are the Argalas on the 7th house? What are the Argalas on UL? Let us see UL. UL is for marriage. We said Lagna Pada for in general status of the person. For marriage, we better see UL. So where is UL? This is the first marriage, right? Yeah, 17 years probably, definitely first marriage. So UL. So UL is in Aries. What are the Argalas on UL?
But
Yes.
the UL in 8th house possibly would not give marriage, right?
Why?
no, you will.
Why?
Or maybe
Compromise.
Why?
because the UL is directly associated with marriage,
Yes.
and being in 8th house,
Yeah.
it's kind of death. It's like a death kind of situation.
No, you can see it, baby.
Well, one thing you can say is the marriage may not be smooth.
Or it's at least to say
UL is not just bringing of the marriage. UL is basically the entire
it's
marriage.
just after marriage. It's
Yeah,
just-
the entire thing. So
it-
if UL is in the 8th house, there is a possibility that the marriage may not be smooth. But the thing is here, the UL Lord Mars is in the 2nd house from it, basically protecting it. And he is with Lagna Lord Mercury. So there is a connection between UL and Lagna. Even though they have a bad relationship in terms of signs, their lords are together. So if the Lord of a Pada is with the Lagna Lord, that too in the 9th house of protection, of Bhagya. So I would think that whatever weakness is there in the UL is not really so bad. I would think that Mercury and Mars being together in the 9th house would basically mean, as far as UL is concerned, as far as Mars is concerned, there is no problem. But 7th Lord Jupiter is in the 6th house. And if you see the Navamsha, there are some negative indications there also, assuming this Lagna is accurate. So there may be some problems, but overall, it's not such a big deal. Just because UL is in the 8th house or 6th house, you can't conclude that there will not be marriage or there will be big problems in marriage. It's a negative, but you have to judge it along with the other positives and negatives.
And
Okay.
another point, while you were saying this, you said the UL dispository is in second house from there.
Yeah,
So always second and seventh house are Maraka houses, right?
yeah.
So why you said it is
Second house is not only Maraka house, but the second house is the house of basically sustaining it.
feeding it?
For any Arudha, if you actually will do Arudha chapter also in Parashara, he very clearly identifies the first house and the second house as the most important houses from any Arudha. The planets in the first and second house from Arudha are vital for that Arudha, because second is the house of food, sustenance. So if a planet is in the house of sustenance, if it's bad for you, he will withdraw sustenance, he will withdraw food from you, so that you starve and you die. Whereas if the planet is auspicious, if he is favorable, he will he will give you a lot of food, nourish you so well that you are fat. So planets in the second house from Arudha, when they are auspicious for that Arudha, when they like that Arudha, they make the Arudha very fat. That means that particular image will be very fat. That means very rich. So there will be a very positive image. And here, being the Lord of that particular Arudha, being in the second house, he will protect it like anything. Not protect, but he will feed it like anything. So he is very auspicious. Now look at the Argalas on UL. How many Argalas are there? Second house Argala, how many? Two. Are they obstructed by any planets in the 12th? No. So 2 unobstructed second house Argalas. Now 4th house Argalas, how many? 2. Venus, Moon.
Right.
And also Ketu. Ketu is in the 10th house,
Right.
so he causes the 4th house Argala. Right? But the thing is, this Argala caused by Ketu is blocked by Rahu.
Rahu. So one only.
Rahu in the 4th will block the Argala by Ketu. So let's say they are cancelling each other. So it's basically Venus and Moon, 2 planets, right? And they are blocked by Saturn in the 10th house. So basically the combined count is 1. Did everybody get it?
Yes.
The Sukhargala on UL is caused by Venus in Cancer, Moon in Cancer and Ketu in Capricorn. And it is obstructed by Saturn in Capricorn and Rahu in Cancer. So basically 2 obstructions and 3 Argalas. So basically the combined count is 1.
And overall,
Everybody clear? So overall, so now so far, second and fourth together we have 3 Argalas. Any 11th house Argalas?
11th house, no. Sorry.
Jupiter. There is a 11th house Argala by Jupiter. Now, is it obstructed by any planet? In the 3rd house, Sun is there. If the planet is weak or Parasa gives some conditions, then he will not obstruct. But Sun is reasonably okay there. He is in a friendly house, Mercury's house. So he obstructs. So overall, how many Argalas? After taking care of the obstructions, how many Argalas remain? 3 strong Argalas. So there are 3 Argalas remaining. So 3, is it good? Is 3 good or bad? 3 is excellent. Parashara says 1 is minimum effect, 2 is medium effect, 3 is full effect. That's what Parashara said. So basically here, basically you can conclude that as far as UL is concerned, there are very strong Argalas. So when the antardashas of those planets come, like Venus, Moon, Ketu, Jupiter, etc., the planets who are causing Argala, when those antardashas come, there can be good developments in the marriage. Marriage can prosper. She can get married, or if she is already married, she can have a good life with the husband, etc. And Ketu is one of the planets causing Argala. So in his antardasha, or actually here Saturn gives Ketu's result. So in Saturn antardasha it happened. But let us go to the Navamsha. We generally saw it in the Rashi, but Navamsha is even more important, right? In the Navamsha, how is Mercury Saturn period? Is it capable of giving marriage? Now see. In the Rashi we saw some logic, but are we fully convinced? Forget the Argalas, the general logic that we gave. Are we convinced that Mercury Saturn, yes, this is the antardasha of marriage? Is it like that or no? No. Mercury is with Mars, the UL Lord, he is the Lagna Lord in the 9th house, okay. Saturn is with Ketu, so what? they are not really like strong planets who definitely give that result. Whereas, look at Navamsa. How is Mercury in Navamsa? Pardon me?
In own house 9.
He is in the 9th house.
In an own house.
He is exalted in the 9th house of Dharma. So, very strong dharmic activity being given by him. Perfect, sir. So, in Mercury Dasha, getting married, 9th and 7th are very important houses, like we said. In Navamsa, 1st, 7th and 9th, these are extremely important houses. So, he owns the 9th house and occupies it in exaltation. So, Mercury Dasha makes sense. How about Saturn?
Saturn, Venus,
He-
exchanging the
Saturn and Venus are exchanging houses. Right. Right. So, Saturn can end up giving Venus result. And moreover, Saturn is the Lagna Lord and Venus is Yokarka. So, between Lagna Lord and Yokarka, any Parivartana is very auspicious. And Saturn affects the 7th house. So, overall, the indications are very strong. So, the Mercury Saturn giving the marriage is quite possible. Now, does Saturn have any Argalas here? Does Saturn have any Argalas here?
When we consider that, should we consider after Parivartana or before Parivartana?
Let us ignore the Parivartana for now. Let us just take Saturn as Saturn. Does he have any Argalas?
Saturn, Jupiter and the Sun. 11th,
Pardon me?
11th house are
2 from 11th house.
2 from 11th house.
On you.
Oh, you are looking at UL. Okay.
No, we are taking Saturn.
On Saturn you are seeing the Argalas?
You asked us.
Why? No, I didn't mean that. I meant, does Saturn have any useful Argalas on the maybe 9th house, Lagna, 7th house, UL, important houses for marriage? That's what I meant. Not the Argalas on Saturn. Those are irrelevant here. Does he have any Argalas?
It has Agla, Lagna and
It has Argala on? It has Argala on Lagna, but that is weak. That is basically cancelled by Mercury. And
11th house Agla is also cancelled by
but actually, one second, you have a point there. How many Argalas are there on Lagna? Saturn causes an Argala, but that is broken, obstructed. Venus causes Argala and Rahu also causes Argala. Both of them are unbroken. So 2 Argalas so far. And Moon causes an Argala, but that is obstructed by Jupiter and Sun. So overall there are 2 Argalas, medium results of this Argala.
Only 1, right?
2, Venus and Rahu.
Oh, Rahu is on the Rahu.
Okay? So that is one thing. So on Lagna there are Argalas. So when there are Argalas on the Lagna, any planet that has Argala on Lagna, whether it's obstructed or not, any planet with Argala on Lagna can give that result. If the cumulative Argalas after removing the Badhas on any particular house are 2 or 3, any planet which is causing Argala on that house can give the results of that house. So, Venus, Rahu and Saturn and even Moon, they are capable of giving some new beginning relating to Dharma, Lagna, right? Now, apart from Lagna, what are the other important things in Navamsa?
7th house.
The 7th house. Who have Argala on 7th house? Are there Argalas on the 7th house at all? Second house Argala, none. Ketu actually. Second house Argala is given by Ketu in the 12th house. So, one Argala. Is it obstructed? No. No planets in the 12th house. So, one Argala. Now, Saturn.
For Ketu and Rahu, there won't be any obstruction, right? Because they will.
No, if there was another planet in Gemini with Ketu, he would have obstructed Ketu. Or if Rahu was in Leo, he would have obstructed Ketu. Of course, he wouldn't.
He won't be.
Yeah. But with the 4th and 10th we saw. With the 4th house Argala, if Rahu is in 4th, Ketu will be in the 10th. So they can obstruct each other. Okay. So there is one Argala by Ketu. Who else? Saturn has an Argala, but Mercury obstructs it. Moon has an Argala, but Jupiter and Sun obstruct it. So those are basically gone. Those Argalas are cancelled. So overall, one Argala remains of Ketu. So basically, as far as the 7th house is concerned, Argala is very weak. It doesn't have any strong. There are no strong results of the 7th house that you can say.
If the moon is Argala and Jupiter and there are 2 planets Badhakas,
Yeah.
so we have to count 2 minus
Basically,
1.
that one is gone. That's all.
Okay.
They wouldn't work to take Argala from the second house Argala of another planet. You understand what I am saying? If there is one planet in the second and all the planets in the 12th, still all those planets will only obstruct this guy. If there is another guy in the 4th house causing Argala, they won't. All those planets in the 12th house will not obstruct this Argala. They obstruct only the 2nd house Argala. Okay? So here, Jupiter and Sun will only obstruct Moon's Argala. If Ketu is causing Argala that is unobstructed, Jupiter won't say, okay, Sun, you go and obstruct Moon. I will take on Ketu. It doesn't work that way. It's basically respective. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so are there any other argalas that we can consider? Our argalas are only signs, houses, or can they be on planets also?
Yes, plan.
Can be from planets also.
They can be on planets also. Can we see argalas on Venus because he is the Karaka?
Yes.
Is it logical to see argalas on Venus? What do you think?
Right.
Yeah, why not?
But
He is the Karaka for marriage, yes.
do you want to then consider? Yeah, we can see that, but
Do you want to see the exchange and put him elsewhere? Is that what you are saying?
no.
Yeah.
Moon is the 7th house.
Why only you choose Venus because he's a Karaka?
He is the Karaka for marriage.
Or the
I can take Saturn. See argalas on Saturn like you guys said at the beginning. And that will show the steadfastness, also the struggle, the suffering, etc. in dharmic life. He is the Karaka for that. So I can see argala on them.
will it
on
show
him.
what you just said that will show the things in life, or will it show because if it is Saturn, it will show during that period if he can give marriage or not?
Yeah, I want to see if Saturn Antardasha is capable of giving marriage. So I can see argalas caused by Saturn on Lagna, 7th house, 9th house, Upada, Venus, etc.
If you look at the Argala on planet, that means what he can do during his Dasha, that means
No. Argalas on houses, just like argalas on houses show conclusive results relating to what that house shows. Similarly, argalas on planets show conclusive results relating to the significations of that planet.
agenda of that.
The agenda of that planet. Who are promoting the agenda of that planet? When the Antardasha of a planet promoting the agenda of Venus comes, Venus agenda can be fulfilled. Do you understand? So that is what Parashara said. So we can see Venus. What are the argalas on Venus? Jupiter and Sun have 2 argalas, but Mars is obstructing it. So cumulative 1. Right?
No, 0. Right?
Then what?
1.
1.
There are 2.
Jupiter, Sun and Mars.
So there we have to count planets.
Yeah, there you have to count planets. So 1 argala. Then
4th house Saturn.
Saturn, but that is obstructed by Moon.
So that
Can you take Moon to be obstructing it? He is debilitated. He is weak. If a planet is debilitated or if a planet is weak, it's incapable of obstructing the argala according to Parashara. So we don't count Moon to be obstructing the argala. Okay? But Mars, he is exalted. He is very strong in Lagna. He is obstructing Jupiter and Sun argala. So far the count is 2.
2.
Right? Any other argala? Is Ketu causing argala from the 5th house? No. No. For Ketu it is 9. Is Rahu in the 11th causing argala? No. So overall count is 2. There is a count of 2. So again, as far as Venus significations are concerned, getting married, falling in love, relating to dharmic life, etc. are concerned, there are planets who are suggesting strong results. So when the Antardasha of Saturn or Jupiter or Sun comes, those results can be given. So if you see all the factors so far, Saturn is having an influence on the 7th house, on the Lagna, on Venus. So he has argalas on several important factors. So during the Saturn Dasha, results can be given. Now, are the results given by Saturn's argala on various houses and planets, are they given in full or only half? For that, what do you have to see? The functional nature of the planet. If a planet is functional malefic, he will give only half the results of his argala. Is Saturn functional benefic or malefic here, or neutral? He was Lagna, benefic. 2nd house, neutral. Combined, benefic. So Saturn is a functional benefic for this Lagna in this Navamsha. So he gives full result. So as far as the marriage is concerned, dharmic life is concerned, whatever result Saturn gives, he gives to the fullest extent. Okay. Now Do you want to see Narayana Dasha of the Navamsha? It is already here. What was the Narayana Dasha of Navamsha running then?
1970.
Taurus Dasha was running. Okay. What was the Antardasha?
Capricorn or Aquarius?
Aquarius.
Is it?
Pardon me?
It's Capricorn? October.
Yeah.
Oh, is it October? 79, right?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Okay, I think October 6, yeah. So, Aquarius Antardasha, as per the Narayana Dasha of Navamsha, Aquarius Antardasha gave the marriage. Does Aquarius contain a planet? Because Parasa says, the sign containing the planet giving Argala gives the result. Does Aquarius contain a planet that has an important Argala? On either Lagna, 7th house or 9th house? Yeah.
Aquarius.
Venus. Venus is, what Argala does he have? On Lagna. We found that Lagna has strong Argalas and Venus was one of the planets. Venus and Rahu were the planets. So, during the Aquarius Antardasha, marriage is quite possible. Okay, and also it contains Venus, the Karaka for marriage. So, whatever Parashara said works for Navamsha Narayana Dasha as well as for Vimshotri Dasha. So, based on this one example, we conclude that it can be applied for Narayana Dasha also. And as a matter of fact, even though we've been using it with Vimshotri Dasha until now, he specifically said Rashi Dashas. Whether it's Charadasha or Narayana Dasha, he did not say, or Drug Dasha, he did not say. But he specifically referred to Rashi Dasha. So, we are justified in trying Narayana Dasha. Now, when did the husband pass away? Actually, it will be interesting to see one second before we do that. Let us go to 1979. See the Tithi Pravesh chart. Who is the ruler of the year? Shani. Shani is the Hora Lord. So, Shani is the ruler of the year. Now, what Tithi Ashtodri Dasha gave the marriage? October 6.
Jupiter.
No.
Sorry.
Shani.
Shani.
The ruler of the year gave the result. Okay. So, Shani gave the marriage. It was Shani's son. Surya Dasha, Shani Dasha, Surya Antardasha. That is when the native got married. Now, let us look at Navamsha and see if it makes any sense. How is Sun and how is Saturn in this particular year's annual chart?
Saturn
There is a Parivartana between Sun and Saturn, okay? Is it good or bad, that Parivartana?
That's a good Parivartana. It's 5th and 9th lord.
5th and 10th lord. So it is a Raj Yoga, but it's an uncomfortable Raj Yoga because Sun and Saturn are enemies. But it's a Raj Yoga. Now,
7th Lord is Venus is with Saturn.
yeah. Okay, let's see the second house and let us look at the second house and the 7th house and UL and Lagna and see if there are any good Argalas on them, showing basically strong results relating to those houses. What are the Argalas on Lagna? No second house Argala or is there? Kedu second house Argala is there because he is in the 12th house, but it is obstructed by Mars, so cancelled. Okay,
But Mars is a Lagna Lord.
forget it. Subjective judgments later. As far as the strict rules of Argala and Badha to Argala are concerned, Mars is obstructing the 8th Lord is causing the Argala and the Lagna Lord is obstructing it. Okay. Now, any 11th house Argalas? None. Any 4th house Argalas? None. Any 5th house Argalas? 3. Venus, Mercury, Saturn. The ruler of the year, the Karaka for marriage and the 7th Lord. So, they are all causing Argala on Lagna. It is very auspicious, very favorable. Now, is it obstructed? Is there any planet there in the 9th house? No. So, there are 3 planets. So, the results are bound to be given. So, as far as Lagna is concerned, it is very well fortified by Argala. What about the 7th house of marriage? How many Argalas?
Jupiter and
First, second house Argala, Jupiter and Rahu.
2 and 1 cancel.
Moon is cancelling it from Virgo. Rahu in Virgo and Jupiter in Scorpio are having second house Argala on Libra. Moon in Virgo is cancelling it. So, overall 1 so far. What about the 11th house? 3 planets. So 4 planets so far,
fourth
and
house
those
sun.
3 are unobstructed.
And fourth house.
And 4th house sun,
5.
5 planets, that is also unobstructed. 5th house none. So overall there are
5.
5 planets having Argala on the 7th house, including 7th Lord and Karaka Venus himself. So many people are pushing it. So when so many people are pushing the agenda of the 7th house, bound to happen. The 7th house results are bound to happen. Now just for completeness, let us look at the UL also.
3 from second house.
3 from second.
3 from 2nd house,
Not up.
Nothing.
2 from the 5th house. On Cancer, UL in Cancer, Jupiter in Scorpio has 5th house Argala, and Ketu in the Pisces, he also has reverse 5th house Argala. And Mars in Pisces is obstructing it. So overall count is 1. So overall we came up with 4 planets: Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter and Ketu having Argala, Mars having Badha Argala. So there are 4. So UL has 4, 7th house has 5, and Lagna has, I forgot, but several. 3 I think. So overall, all the important houses for marriage are well fortified as per the Argala principles. So who's capable of giving this result? These guys, especially Venus, Mercury, Saturn are so strong, they are capable of giving it. And Saturn and Venus,
May not be possible, right?
yeah, Mercury is not so happy there. He is the 6th Lord. But Venus and Saturn are definitely capable of giving the result. Okay.
So sun having an Argala on 7th house.
Yeah. Now the thing is, when it comes to the annual charts, the principal Parashara said, Antardasha, whether you have to use the Antardasha or just the Dasha, that is not clear. My thinking is, we are talking about a sufficiently narrow period of time. So Dasha here itself is almost like a Pratyanta Dasha or Sukshmanta Dasha in the natal chart. So it makes sense to just consider the Dasha instead of considering the Antardasha at this level. Okay. Just out of curiosity, you see that Rashi and Navamsa have the same Lagna, right? So Satabdika Dasha applies. So apart from the Tithi Ashtotri, does it make sense to use the Satabdika Dasha? Let us just check what Dasha gave the marriage as per Satabdika. Pardon me?
Only in the Tithi Pravesh.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, the thing is Tithi Pravesh, in Tithi Pravesh, Tithi Ashtotri is always much better than Vimshotri. Satabdika is a competition to Vimshotri. So I am not saying shun the Tithi Ashtotri and just use the Satabdika. But what I am saying is just see out of curiosity. Who gave the marriage? Jupiter. Jupiter. Does it make any sense? Not a lot of sense. In Rashi he is the 9th Lord. In Navamsa again he is the 9th Lord, but he is in the 8th house. Not a lot of it doesn't make too much sense. Let's just leave it. So basically Satabdika does not seem to be applying that well in this particular case. Let us stick to Tithi Ashtotri. Okay, so Shani gave the result. And whose result did Shani give? In the Navamsa? Venus, Mercury and Shani, they are exchanging houses. I mean, they are exchanging results. They are all together in the same house. And if you arrange in the order of decreasing beneficence, Venus, Mercury and Saturn. So Venus will give Saturn result, Saturn will give Venus result. But at the same time, Saturn and Sun have a parivartana. It's a mess. Let's leave it. But bottom line is, all of them are capable of giving it. Let's leave it.
So we don't know when they give.
Now, let us see the year when the lady.
We know when they gave.
Yeah.
You see when the person
So
dies.
6.
Now, husband passed away. Last husband means did husband pass away or
He passed
divorce?
away last year.
He passed away. He passed away on November 7 last year. Okay? Does it make sense?
We have to change the metal.
Yeah. Okay. We are in the natal chart back. Do you want to use Vimshotri first and then Narayana? Yeah, let us use Vimshotri. What Dasha is running?
No, we have to change it to the Satabdika Dasha.
You are right. So, as per the Vimshotri Dasha, she is running Venus Mahadasha, Shukra Mahadasha. What is the Antardasha?
2005 is
2005 November. Mercury. So the dasha of Mercury has started. Okay. The dasha of Mercury has started. Antardasha of Mercury in Venus Mahadasha started, and husband passed away. Does it make any sense? Does it make any sense?
In this case, Mercury
Mercury is the ninth lord in the ninth house.
But he is the
He is
sixth
so
lord.
strong. His dasha gave marriage.
is
Why did he kill husband?
he
He is also the sixth lord. Okay. He is the sixth lord of loss of marriage. Okay.
A6 involved in A6 is right there with Mercury.
Okay. A6 is there. Separation from husband. A tangible separation. Okay. What else?
You're looking at the
Navamsha. We'll just stick to Navamsha. Kanatranam Chitra is in Navamsha according to Parasa. Navamsha Kanatranam. So for anything relating to husband, we'll see Navamsha directly. Okay. Any thoughts? How do you see husband? How do you see husband in Navamsha? Forget Argala, all that. We'll see later. Forget all that. Just use, because you learn principle, a new principle X. You don't have to forget all the principles you have learned so far. How do you see husband in the Navamsha chart? From the 7th house, from the 7th lord, from the Arudha of 7th lord, from the Arudha of 7th house? Why?
A7 is
L7, right?
L7.
That is, of course, A7, L7 are the same in this particular case. But in general, what I taught you is, the house itself is the intangible. In general, houses and planets are intangible. And Arudhas of houses and Arudhas of planets are tangible. And houses and Arudhas of houses, anything to do with houses is inanimate. And anything to do with planets, like planets are the Arudhas of planets are animate. So this is the basic distinction I have taught you. This should be an axiom to you. So the 7th house is the basic relationship itself. And the A7 is the tangible manifestation of the relationship, how the world comes to see the relationship as. And the 7th lord is the intelligence that is driving the relationship.
That is the husband himself.
No, not necessarily. It is husband's intelligence, my intelligence, your intelligence, some astrologer who is guiding his intelligence, her intelligence. All those intelligences are guiding her relationship. So the combined relationship guiding her relationship is 7th lord. But Arudha of the 7th lord is that specific person who is very important for that relationship, that husband himself. Okay. So, so L7 or the Arudha of the lord of the 7th house, that is the key factor when you are looking at husband. Any specific thing that happened to husband. Okay. If you see that.
And that too with respect to this chart, right? Because
Yeah. In this Navamsha. So in the Navamsha,
where is it?
the 7th house is Cancer. Question?
I'm looking A7. Where is it?
Yeah, A7 is here, but we want L7. I won't change the menu to show the Arudhas of planets. What I want to do is, you calculate it. Where is the 7th house? Here, Cancer, right?
Yeah.
7th lord is Moon. He is debilitated in Scorpio. So 7th lord's Arudha. You see from the lord to the house.
there is for
Okay, if there are two houses owned by that lord, you see the stronger one. But here, just one house. So from Moon to Cancer is 9 houses, you count. From Cancer you count 9 houses. You end up in Pisces. In general, I will tell you a thumb rule. If a house and the lord are in mutual trines, A of the house and the L of the house, basically A7 and L7 here, are together. Okay, Arudha of the planet as well as Arudha of the house are together in that case. Because in that case, whether you count from here to here or here to here, you end up in the same house. The other
Okay,
trine.
can you please explain again? I lost.
Okay.
Can you explain that North Indian chart?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cancer is here, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So from Cancer, where is Moon? In the 9th house.
Is there AC bothering you?
Yeah, could you please?
What? Yeah, actually it's a little too much. Also because I have cold.
Oh, okay. Now I know you're having a stuffy nose.
Yeah, I have cold anyway to start with. You can turn off the AC. It's quite comfortable.
From Cancer, Moon is the fifth.
Yeah, one second. Let me explain it. Let me explain it using another house. Okay. Let us take Mars. Let us take Scorpio. Okay. This is Scorpio.
Yeah.
Suppose you want the Arudha of Scorpio. Arudha of the 11th house. Okay. You start from Scorpio. You see where the Lord is. Where is Mars? In the 3rd house from it.
Right.
You go the 3rd house from there and you end up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Pisces. So that is where the Arudha of the 11th house is, A11 will be, right? But if you want L11, which is Arudha of the 11th Lord, what you would do is, you don't start with 11th house, you start with the 11th Lord. So 11th Lord is Mars, he is in Capricorn. From him, if you count, where is the 11th house? It is in the 11th from him, right? From there you count the 11th. Where do you end up? In Virgo. So Virgo has L11, the Arudha of the Lord of the 11th house. Okay. So A11 and L11 are different. Do you follow it? A11 you count from 11th house to the 11th Lord, and then the same count. L11 you count from 11th Lord to the 11th house, and then again the same count. So it's basically like you are counting in reverse, from here to here, there. Instead you are counting from here to here and counting back. But the thing is, if you are counting a trine, if the Lord and the sign are mutual trines, if you count from sign to the Lord, you go to one trine. When you count the same trine from the Lord, you go to the other trine, the third one. Similarly, if you did not start from the sign, but if you started from the Lord to the sign will be one trine. From there, if you count back to the other trine, you end up in the same sign. You understand what I am saying? So A of the house and L of the house, A Arudha of the house and Arudha of the house Lord will be together if Lord and house are in mutual trines. That's the thumb rule I gave you. So here Moon and the sign owned by Moon, Cancer, are mutual trines. So take the other trine. That will be the A as well as L of that sign. So here we looked at Cancer in the first place because we want the 7th Lord. So 7th Lord's Arudha will show husband. So we took many examples in the past also for this. So always if you want to see something happening to the actual person, like husband or father or mother or child, we take the Lord's Arudha. So L7 is in Pisces. Now talk about Mercury. Is he auspicious or inauspicious? Who are the Marakas? Is Venus a Maraka?
Yes.
Venus is the 8th Lord. Venus is the 8th Lord from L7. And Mercury is the 8th Lord from Venus in the 8th house. Okay. So it's 8th Lord's Dasha and other Dasha of the 8th Lord again from the Dasha Lord. Moreover, if you just look at Pisces itself, the L7, Mercury is the 7th Lord in 7. If the 7th Lord is in 7, is he Marka or not? He is a strong Marka. 2nd and 7th Lords, they are strong Markas. Okay. And also 8th Lord, when he is weak, he is a Marka. 3rd and 8th are basically the houses of giving longevity, and 2nd and 7th are withdrawing those. So basically in the Dasha of the 8th Lord and the other Dasha of the 7th Lord, the husband passed away. Does it make sense or not? It makes very good sense. Right?
Can you see how he is passed away? No.
That is tough. If you want to see, okay, if you want to see how he passed away, what can you take a guess on? Don't give the answer, just philosophy. What could be the philosophy of guessing how the husband passed away?
From third house from AL.
Third from AL.
Okay. 3rd from AL or UL?
Third from AL.
3rd from AL is how the person's
You're right.
tangible manifestation ends. If you want to see how the person's tangible marriage ends, should you look at the 3rd from UL?
Oh, you are asking about marriage. I was asking
Yeah.
about person. Okay.
Yeah, the person basically, the person passing away. Should I see the 3rd from UL in Rasi chart for that? Just guess.
No, you are saying third from UL.
For the marriage end.
Because ending of marriage.
Yeah, ending on how the marriage ended, by husband dying because of a disease or husband dying because of an accident.
You can see from third from UL.
Okay. Should we see in the Rasi or Navamsa?
Rashi, physical.
Rasi or Navamsa?
In the Rasi.
Okay.
Physical
So-
separation is Rashi and then.
But this is
So
not-
are the
not
things
the
in
one
Navamsa not physical? The Arudhas, various Arudhas that we see. If we see A4 in Shorashamsa, we said that is car. Aren't we talking about a physical car?
We are talking
So all the Arudhas in all the charts are physical only. Basically, each Arudha shows one particular area of life, conceptual area of life. But Arudhas in that particular chart only show physical things relating to that particular conceptual area of life. Okay. Similarly, if you see T24, it's basically learning. When I say learning, it's a conceptual area of life. It's not physical. But if I look at Arudhas in D24, like the Arudha of the 4th house, Arudha of the 9th house, etc., those show the the school you go to, the teacher who teaches you, those are all physical. So
In case of-
arudhas are always physical. Yes.
But in case of death, we are talking about the physical disposition of the body.
Yes.
So that's
Right.
why we are
But the
saying
thing
Rasi
is,
rather than
if you want to talk about the physical marriage, should it be in the Rasi or can it still be in the Navamsa? If you are talking about, we